black people like me talk to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They sent some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro.
Put it all on the line to see my people.
When black people like me talk to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They sent some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro always looked out for his master.
Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Blood diamonds in our veins, so we breathe creep. Every nigga's a potential donor for a small fee. Over the years, I gave my blood, gave my sweat and tears. Upright, independent, and fearless, and it's all clear. They wanna see me on my knees with my hands out, but I refuse to be a bigger ninny chasing clout. Your favorite rapper, honor master, he's a faithful slave. Phallus worshiping pagan rights for minimum wage. And I say the things that these house niggas wanna say. Can't cancel me cause I'm the coach, you watch me lead the way. My footprints are clearly cut cause I'm a big stepper. I leave eternal landmarks, therefore I live forever. My Moorish ties can never be severed. Medieval demons plot to earn acceptance, and I don't have to get ready because I stay ready. Recite these vanishing rituals, these are my confessions. And I got a 7-day theory like Machiavelli. Sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Freedom of speech, just watch what you say. Them devils look for excuses to exercise they hate. Then soundbite manipulation justify the case. A pig's only agenda is to control our fate. So many snakes and I miss silent hissing like Judas. Filled in malice and greed, but still I see through them. And I can see it in their eyes that pray for my demise. A crown of thorns upon my head, but yet I hold it high. And I walk with purpose and pride in every step I strive, cause I made a vow to the ancestors to ride or die. So I made a burden of many spirits and lost souls. Yeah, I'm captive within the struggle as I unfold. They hold the stripes on my back, look at my broken flesh. I'm speaking truth to power into my last breath. I hear true legends never die, and now I'm legendary. And I live forever through these lyrics even when I'm buried. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Peace and love, family. I want to give honors to you
First and foremost, I want to rise and give praises to the great God and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. I give honors to my Moorish kin as I rise upon the seven. You know, honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Give honors to my Grand National Seal, which you see behind me. You know, my Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws. And honors to all of you who are living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to give honors to all of those who come forth to this special platform, to get a droid, as we always do, strive to bring grand measures to our family. And it's going to be a little bit different on this particular measure. And I want to actually really reach out to my family today. In particular, I'm trying to draw with the youth in relation to dealing with uh, those that we have lost throughout the years when it comes to dealing with this music. The first major incident that ever took place when it came to dealing with uh, those who were musicians among our people, past and form, the most popular was that of dealing with the measure between our brother Tupac Shakur and our beloved brother, the notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls. And this particular incident most definitely had an impact on the culture of the young generation. To see two young brothers lose their life behind basically what would become known as, in this era and time, beef. Uh, to us, it was very shocking. But throughout the years, being here now, 20 some odd years later, it has gotten even worse. And I want to go into certain measures in relation to dealing with these causes. Those of you who know me know that I love the music field as far as dealing with being able to deliver a measure to our people, as that was myself bringing a measure just then as I opened up. And one thing that I always wanted to do when I was in my youth, that was more like my first love, is be able to reach my people through music. So what I would do, I would often go into reading. I would study. I would, want to enhance my vocabulary, so to speak. So that's what made me somewhat like a wordsmith. It prepared me, for later measures in life, so to speak. I wanted to bring something of substance, and even though I came from where I came from, as some people would like to say, I came from the mud, just like my family came from the mud. I wanted to speak to them and uplift them. This is even before coming into the consciousness that I had now. And I was inspired that way because often the artists that I would listen to in my youth, these were the measures that they brought forth to me. I didn't take their measures as something that glorified my plight, but I seen it as, lessons that these brothers had went through, things they seen, that they were trying to give one's guidance on how to navigate themselves as they are coming up in those environments. And later on, I found out the true meaning of what they called the definition of the word of rap. Because many of our people, they like to pretty much, they really go hard at the young brothers that's coming up doing whatever it is they're doing, that have brought many of them out of poverty and everything else. But when I looked into the definition of the word, I found that the true definition of the word rap, which is never discussed, pardon self, you never see it discussed. It's dealing with rhythm and poetry. That's what R.A.P. That's what it means, rhythm and poetry. And what I seen, in my earlier stage, there was a lot of rhythm and poetry going on. But throughout the last couple of years, the poetry has become lost, and the rhythm has become the dynamic factor, so to speak, that is driving the people. Um, Certain instruments tap into certain feelings and emotions and so forth and so on. But even when you have someone that has no poetic uh, measure to bring to the manifest, one call it dumbing down a particular lyric, when they was calling it being lyrical at one time. But that's what they call it, dumbing down the lyrics. And this is not at the behest of the artists themselves. This is basically being demonstrated because those who are marketing them, the mainstream, so to speak, tell them that uh, it's necessary that they come forth with, um, we'll say, a very in your face, vulgar like approach in order to reach the masses. And they tell them that, well, if you don't come from this particular direction, then you ain't going to be able to reach the people. Lo and behold, outside of the opinion of those who have no understanding of our plight, who have taken over that particular machine that produced music, um, they have no idea of our struggle, what we came up through, or none of that. But they would only like to highlight those things in the music that would cause us as a people to be more demoralized and so forth and so on. They don't want to hear you talking about, the struggle, the harsh reality, the reality people deal with. It's now more parading around, what it is that you have obtained, such as what you have gained. And there's nothing wrong with us speaking on how we have come out of the conditions that we are in, but it is the oversaturation that has been brought forth through the mainstream that has caused so much disruption in the minds of the youth that's coming up now, listening to these special uh, musicians that's out now. You know, I'm not here to uh, condemn and browbeat and drag one through the mud per se, but as somebody that writes, and I most definitely feel I'm qualified to criticize my peers. This is one of the qualities and factors of what they would call hip hop, in the early stages in the beginning. And I want to say the video that I have here, I've seen many of our brothers pass form in the last couple of years, but I just wanted to come forth because I feel there is a need for there to be a voice of speaking to our young brothers, because I've been through that culture. I came up in that culture. And I want to say before I go any further, R.I.P. to the young brother they called the rapper Young Dolph. And R.I.P. to all of those who have died before that young brother, that had crossed over from the streets into music. We obviously are seeing that being a celebrity is not changing our condition as a people. I used to look at becoming a rapper as a way out of the condition that, our people had come up in, a quick way out, a easy way out, and you can actually tell the story, hopefully that will elevate some of our people in consciousness. However, I see now that when it comes to the industry, it has become worse than being in the streets. You see? And I'm going to tell you why. It's based on the fact that the world is desensitized now to violence. If you ask me, it's worse to look at it and hear it than it is just to hear it coming through your ears. Because in Hollywood, in the cinema, you got a vision of everything. When they make these movies, with the blood and the gore and the saw this and cut it up that, serial killer this and everything else. This, I think, makes an even greater impression upon the psyche of our people. However, two wrongs don't make a right, so to speak. You know, um, our people have been pushed away from trying to use these talents as an instrument to uplift their people into using these talents as an instrument to, again, destroy their people. And that's what's been going on. So you have people like myself, like I say, when I try to write, I'm always writing from a perspective of trying to reach our people. Because, I mean, if you look at what they like to call so-called rap now, there's a podium there. Now, what's being spoke from the podium, that's a whole nother measure. That's why I labeled behind the measure R.I.P. Young Dolph, I labeled this drawing, street prophets are never accepted in their own home. Again, street prophets are never accepted in their own home. It's the same measure. It was stated that our brother Yehoshua, some people call him Jesus, Isa if you Muslim, if you were persecuted, in one city, then flee to another. I even seen recent interviews, because I keep my ears to, the streets, so to speak, because I have to tune into the thoughts of my people. These are the people I'm trying to raise up. I don't have to assimilate with the behavior of my people to tune into the thoughts, of my people and what it is that they're going through. But nevertheless, we notice that in every city, throughout the United States of America, a lot of our people are falling victim to this same destruction when it comes to, went beyond rap battle. It's gunplay now. It's straight war. People, when it comes to even deal with labels, labels are now moving in the likes of demonstrating, gang banging culture, so to speak. One label banging on another label. All of these things are leading to the demise of something that could have been great or used as a tool to reach our people. You see, and this is right up the enemy's alley, because once you off the manifest, it's a million more coming just like you, to basically go to the next level, to where they're going to end up just putting the insurance policy on you anyway, and they reap the benefit, from the demise of those who pass for them. So they win in either way, and they own your master, so they're hitting you there as well. And oftentimes it leads the families in a situation to where they are suffering, so to speak. They return back to square one, where they was before their loved one who had taken them out of a state of poverty. They go right back into that state that they were in before that. And we seen this countless times. I can go down and just name a few brothers from New Orleans, dealing with our brother Soldier Slim, coming all the way up to dealing with even the brother VL Mike there, even just going throughout all the coaches that we can think of, Chinks in New York. I mean, Mo 3, Lil Snoop, man, I can just go on and on and on and on. And the reason why I'm referring to these brothers as, street prophets, because in all actuality, they have a message. They got a story to tell. And they're basically showing you how ugly, our conditions are. Just to be honest with you. They're showing you how ugly our conditions are. Now, when I say street prophets, don't get this twisted as I'm saying, oh, these ones were divinely, inspired by God to bring forth destruction, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that what is taking place and what our young brothers are saying, in a lot of cases, they are crying out, for some assistance. They're crying out for help. You see? And often being unheard. And when they cry out and they act out, they are often being persecuted, by the media. They're being persecuted by even some of our own people who's supposed to be conscious in the community, as opposed to really reaching out to these young brothers, embracing them where they are, and taking them where they need to be. You see? And so the cycle continues. You see? Poverty is the main reason and the root in which we as a people are divided. Poverty has an effect on the attitude. It has an effect on the quality of what we are willing to learn and everything it is that we are willing to accept and bring into ourselves. You see, poverty is at the root of that. Poverty is the demon, that's basically orchestrating, all of this blood bath that you see in front of us. Most of those who are prophets spoke on, a lot of bloodshed that will come in a time when the world is almost at the end of its destruction. In the Piscean records, of what they call the book of Revelations, in the fifth seal, it was asked, when, oh Lord, when, God, will you come? It say, well, after all of your brethren are slaughtered and killed, as many of those that have come before them, and these will be some of the things that will lead up into the culmination of all of these events, to bring some divine balance, divine order, divine justice, and so forth and so on. There's a paradigm shift that's taking place, family. We also know that the public is unstable. The public is therefore ever ungrateful. Those who love you one minute, they hate you tomorrow. Those who hate you one minute, they love you tomorrow. And this is a dynamic that goes even outside of the music industry. It has to do with the behavior of the people right now that's on the manifest. So what I'm trying to say is, what is going on now, we have begun to participate in our own destruction. And we call it, they say, cancel culture. We are canceling our own culture with the behavior that we have become accustomed to demonstrate now in this new era in time. And this is why it's making it so hard for us to come out of the condition that we've been placed in. Competition, family, and heroism are the two greatest enemies that have surfaced in this new era in time within the ranks of our people. And I'm going to say that again. Competition and heroism are the two greatest enemies that have surfaced in this new era in time within the ranks of our people. What do I mean by this? The competitive mindset that often comes from, a Romanized state. I got to outdo you. I got to be better than you. You got to outdo me. You got to be better than me. This Colossemic like mentality, where some blood has to be shedded. Some warfare has to be demonstrated for some form of entertainment, right? This is the mindset that our people demonstrate, and what it is, they can, well, it's a generational curse. No, it's not a generational curse. It is generational behavior that has become a habit and habitual. And so now it is being passed down. And again, it's canceling any form of true culture that we intend to bring on the manifest. Because now the people have begun to buy into the negativity, buy into the reality, of the illusion of inclusion, so to speak. Our people think that these things will cause them to be included within the upper echelon of society, among the elite, and so forth and so on. It's not custom for our people to come forth and speak along the lines of what we call demonstrating unity, a love to a woman, your goddess, your queen. The industry would not promote that. They will only promote the deaf style or the deaf culture, because this is the way of the West. If you look at any people that demonstrate mainstream when it comes to cinema, just looking at, the world of Hollywood in general, notice how most of all of the West packaging has to do with warfare, bloodshed, espionage, betrayal, murder, mayhem, or when you get into the spiritual side, it's always dealing with some demonism, demonic invocations. This is the Western way. If you look at a lot of Oriental measures, they have a lot of poetical, historical type of measures they bring on the manifest. Just pay attention just to that thought. That's the difference between the Oriental and the Occidental. The Occident is the West, the Orient is the East. You see, even though we know true East is really within us, but you can see more of that in the East, the far East, away from here, where ones are trying to bring a spiritual measure to the manifest, as opposed to those who are dealing completely with the manifest and the physical here in the West. The West is steeped into materialism. That's why it is promoted on all levels, even outside of the music business. Everything represents a status symbol. If you don't have this and you don't have that, which is of the latest, then you ain't doing it. You know where I'm coming from? And so that's the way that we have been taught. So our true culture is being canceled out right before our eyes, right under our watch. I'm talking about it's right there. It's being destroyed. And so to see this young brother, lose his life, I want to say again, may he rise in power. And many more of our brothers, but let not his life, just be another death like all of our family. There's something for us to learn. Those who are participating in the culture of the music now and those who are outside, is a lesson for us to learn from these situations. All of even our brother Nipsey Hussle, may he rise in power as well. There's a lesson in these things if we pay attention. So like I say, I'm not here, to talk down on the young brothers per se, but I'm here to try to reach out and uplift my young brothers, because I've been there. I've been on both sides, of that scimitar, if you know what I mean. So now that we dealing with justice taking its course, then we here to be a part of the solution as opposed to being a part of the problem. So it take those who have been there, to reach those, who may be coming up that same and special path. So I want to put a challenge out there to all my brothers, anybody that see this video, it's time that no matter where you are, you don't have to go into a particular building or get a whole grand gathering of people. If you're able to do that, then all is well. But wherever you are, if you have a chance to reach out to these young brothers, to give them some guidance, a good word, give them guidance. Don't allow this Willie Lynch theory to be a reality. Where the old generation is separated from the young generation. Young generation separated against the old generation. Because that's what's been going on too. You got people that are elders that's scared to talk to these young brothers. I talk to them all the time in my city, wherever I'm at. I always speak to these young brothers, and give them guidance. And they respect the measure being brought. They respect the positivity when it's real. Because you can't indulge in the same thing that they indulging in. And then by the same token, try to direct them in a different course, so to speak. They tried to kill this young brother a few years ago. And he had a couple of attempts on his life, but they tried to kill this young brother a few years ago. And he had a bulletproof truck. Sad to see he went back to his own hometown and ended up being killed in a place where they say he liked to go and get, cookies from, And in other words, that was a habit. And we have those when they are envious, they will watch your habit. It's always that one person that just won't forgive you. God forgive, but you don't. I'm speaking to the person that don't forgive one. You see, God forgive you, but they won't. You see? And so this is what is taking place now. I want to give a drawing real quick too. And I'm going to give it to you first from this particular book. It's called The Gospel of Hip Hop. I want to give honors to the brother KRS-One, being one of the founding fathers of this science that they like to call hip hop now, or that we call that. And I want to give you a measure at it. It's almost like a divine scripture this brother wrote. He was definitely in that mindset. Listen to what he stated, though. The brother said, "We are not here to just sing and dance. We are a part of the divine order of things. Hip-hop is a product, pardon self, of human genius, clearly inspired by the divine mind. Therefore, our first work as young people, as a young nation, is to take the source of our being more seriously. And this is what the Temple of Hip Hop is all about. Here we approach the being of hip hop seriously. Announced in 1996, the Temple of Hip Hop was formed to work in 3 phases. 1, as an organization that protects, preserves, and promotes hip hop culture. 2, to open a cultural learning center, and facility for hip hop culture, featuring a museum exhibiting artifacts of hip hop culture. 3, to build a school recognizing and teaching hip hop as a consciousness of our common culture. And 4, to create an authentic collaborative history for the culture. Men of Hip Hop, Calendar Series 1998. The brother said, in short, the Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation society and ministry established to ensure the longevity and further development of traditional hip hop in the world. Our society is made up of exceptional hip hoppers who are united in the cause for hip hop's cultural, political, and spiritual expansion. It says, however, again, the Temple of Hip Hop as well as the Gospel of Hip Hop are not intended for all people, even those who are participating in hip hop's culture and elements. Both the Temple of Hip Hop and its gospel attract those hip hoppers who intuitively feel what is already presented in this first instrument and only need to be reminded of such truth in a culturally relevant way. For many, this gospel will be more of a confirmation than education. And this brother, he broke it down, of what, this hip hop was to represent, and he spoke on God being an inspiration, inspiring these ones, and how it was used as a tool to save, many of our people, bring them out of bondage and everything else. And then they went into a measure here where he was speaking on the brother MLK. And he was drawing on this as a prophecy of the youth coming forth, bringing measures of hip hop. And what he said in reciting a speech of the brother MLK, he said, the king then returned to his written speech with this faith. We will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. But the cheering crowd and overwhelming spirit of God led our king away from his prepared text again and back to his freestyle. And then the king continued, this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. And land where my forefathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must come true. Now, to our family, vibrating on a higher level, the interpretation this brother is giving to the young generation in relation to the music is key here. Because our brother Martin Luther King, we look at him as a minor prophet. Just as many of our other brothers and leaders were minor, some major and some minor. depending on the measure they had to bring to our people. And a lot of these street prophets, they are seeds of the minor prophets, so to speak. It says, so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. You see, let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightened Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee, Tennessee is the area where our brother passed from. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, and from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village, every hamlet, from every state and city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, and he used the term black men, white men, Jews, Gentiles, Catholics, Protestants, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. The brother KRS-One interpreted this as freedom ringing from all of these particular states as where the voice of hip-hop had rose up. In most cases, actually, where they started from the north and came all the way down here into the south. If you notice, it ended with Mississippi. And now it's in the areas of, right here in my area, Florida, it's in Georgia, it's still in the South. But he said, and with this decree, our nation was born. Dr. King, Martin Luther King Jr., in the midst of war, injustice, and poverty, saw the coming of new raceless classes, unified nation built upon timeless principles, freedom, justice, and equality. He saw the beginnings of what we now call hip-hop. And the reason why KRS-One came to this conclusion, because he said, despite all the stuff going on in the world, amongst music and hip-hop is where you see most interaction between the culture, and different people. And that's the vision that KRS-One was looking at, as opposed to just looking at it as us trying to be free, on the physical, but being free, by means of what it is that we're able to conjure up culturally, mentally, and so forth and so on. He said, our King spoke us into existence. He spoke to and for the generation of his immediate children, those born between the years of 1960 and 1970. This generation is the group that would eventually produce hip-hop. When our King said, I have a dream that my father and my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, most people assume that the only nation our King could have been talking about was the United States of America. That one day it would live up to his creed of all men being created equal with the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Indeed, King was talking about America as a nation, but it is clear that he was not talking about America or the America that he was protesting against at the time. He saw a radically different America than even the one that exists today. However, the King's vision of a true racial unity and equal citizenship under the law never fully materialized for the people of the United States. Most Americans at the time felt that the King's I Have a Dream decree was simply a powerfully moving speech. However, King's dream was in the realm of prophecy, prediction, and instruction, and was not just as average American mind remembers it, protest words for his time. On the contrary, our King was not even speaking for his time. He was speaking for our time. He said 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. And most of what King said in the famous decree was said in the future tense. One day right here in Alabama, little black boys, black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls and brothers. Most people, because our own prejudices refer to the phrase as brothers and sisters figuratively and symbolically. They doubt that this type of unity would come forth and so forth and so on. Now, this is the portion of KRS work called the Gospel of Hip Hop, and it's coming from the chapter that deal with the Promised Land. And he's again bringing this back to hip hop. He even broke hip hop down in relation to dealing with the elements, the hydrogen, the oxygen, and iodine. He went into all of those special measures in here. But the key is, there's a measure that we speak of when we talk in Moorish science. We speak of the everlasting gospel of Allah. And that everlasting gospel of Allah, has to do with a saving power that come through our forefathers. You see? So all of the talents that we have, they come through that special lineage of the everlasting gospel. Anybody that you know to be great, anybody that you know that have become greater than their plight, so to speak, they have become separated from the rest, they have become a little more elevated than the rest. This is just showing us the possibilities of man. And these are great feats on the manifest, but small in the eyes, of divinity, so to speak. And that's why I say when you have ones that reach this special level and we see this outcome, there's a lesson to be learned. Just as when you go into any scriptural text or book, there's a lesson to be learned. Our history will be the scripture for those who come behind us. You see, now what portion of the book we choose to fulfill, and that's on us. We got control over that, but that's on us. So again, this brother lost his life. And I would say over, in most cases, something that was frivolous. Our people are losing their lives daily over something that is frivolous. And these young brothers out here, taking each other off the count, and they feel that this, is going to make them, a grander individual. It's going to protect them. But we can't be protected from the law of karma, especially if it's unjust. We have a right to stand in defense of ourselves. Even Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, if you can walk away from a situation, but if somebody keep pressing on you, and you trying to walk away, he say turn around and drop the world on them. But I leave that to you in your own interpretation. It's a time for everything. But we shouldn't be always stuck in what they like to call demon time in this new generation. That's what they calling it. These babies are calling this activity of being active out here demon time. And that's what's going on. A bunch of minions and demons, have began to incarnate in this era and time that we in. All this was prophesied. So it don't surprise us. Again, I don't blame, the culture, but the lack of education, the lack of a knowledge of self. Because if the people have a knowledge, they can bring that forth. You can't give what you don't have. If one has no knowledge of themselves, they have no knowledge, of how great they are beyond the plane of things made manifest, beyond the material or money that they can amass, then that's all they know. That's their world. I know this because I've been there. I participated in all of the activity that most of these people out here rapping about. I'm a living example, but look at what the great God Allah, guided me into becoming. My life can be made into a movie. My autobiography would sell millions of dollars if I told you, everything that I come through, coming up under, a household that started during the 80s, during the drug epidemic. My house being one of the first homes in my community to be turned out, with crack cocaine, drugs, me seeing this firsthand, being ridiculed by my peers, those who felt like they was better than us because of the plight that, we were dealing with, due to addiction, in the family. And you had those who felt like they were better. All us living in the ghetto, all us in the projects, but even in that state, you got a classes society. You got those who think they less ghetto than these here, and they more ghetto, and you got some that think these ghetto in between. And that same thing going on right now. So there's a dynamic right within the midst of our people outside of the European, to where there's some discrimination, a domestic, I like to call it domestic racism, a haterism that go on amongst our people. And it's the same behavior that ends up leading to a demarcated thought pattern where we are divided and basically conquered. We have a group outside of dealing with the ghetto among our people as a culture where they are always condemning, the condition that our people are in, and they ain't helping the people. Most cases, they are actually benefiting off of the suffering of our people. And then they got the nerve to sit up there in an office that they have been appointed to by those same people and criticize them and tear them down. And so this creates an even further divide. So now the people that's on the bottom don't care nothing about the people on the top. The people on the top want to justify their position of being where they are. I'm talking about our own people. We ain't talking about the European right now. That's what's going on. Those so-called quote unquote elite taking on the behavior of the oppressor. That's the problem. One of the problems, when it comes to dealing with the dynamics of what's going on, with the conditions of our people now. So we are bred in a hotbed of gaslight. We are bred in a hotbed of gaslight. We have our people, who see somebody successful, they want to pull them down. We have our people that are successful, they like to talk down on the people that are not so successful. So see, it's going both ways. I'm putting this in my meiotic scale. Some people call that a Libra scale, under the European charts, but I'm dealing with the Dendera of ancient Kemet. So when I put it in, my meiotic scales, I see accountability that needs to be brought to the manifest on both levels when it comes to our people. In most cases, we can't even get in one room together. You can't even go to events where our people have events without, brothers want to go to war with each other just for a look. And by the same token, a European can look at them the same way, but they ain't going to pick up the gun and kill the European. The police can come to them on a daily basis and they cold-blooded killers, let them tell it. But the European come to them, they running with the same gun that they'll kill their own brother with, family. Ain't nothing gangster about that. See, that's how I came out of the mythology of this so-called gangsterism. And trust me, when I was in it, I was one of them individuals that anybody that know me, they know that I was one that would have been called gangster at that time. And even in that state, I always had the thought in my mind, ain't no such thing as he hard and he soft. You know what I mean? He scared and I ain't scared. I wasn't thinking like that. Because my grandmother, I want to give honors to her. She used to say, son, a scared person will kill you. That's what my grandmother used to tell me. She used to say a scared person will kill you. And so that basically became a part of my philosophy when I was moving in that street world, that I would never underestimate anybody that's in that environment. I would never underestimate any man, and say, well, I'm going to just do what I want to do to him. And no, but if someone came my way, I stood on what I was supposed to stand on in that state of mind as a young brother. Most of my conflict, though, was with Rome. And the difference between me and a lot of these young brothers is that I gave it to Rome as equally as I would give it to my own. And I don't say that to be boastful or bragging, none of that right there. You know, I done went fisticuffs with Rome. I done slung iron with Rome. You understand? I was a rebel without a cause. Anybody could get it. So I'm qualified to criticize, because most of these rappers ain't did what I did. They ain't been through what I've been through. But I don't say that to be boastful. I'm saying that I'm reaching out to my people, you know, to raise them up out of that special way of thinking. I learned by going being buried alive in the European dismal crypts that everybody don't love you, out of sight, out of mind. I learned patience. You see, I gained a greater communication with my creator when I went into what I call the mountains. That's what made me who I am now. That's how I became who I am now. But even in that state, I was always one that never wanted to start things with people. I only handled measures that were brought to me, that I was confronted with. I would never want that like to start. You know, most of the time when I was going through it, it would be the people that be right there. You thought they were your buddy. They your friend. They your so-called comrade or your brother. These were the ones who became oppositional. Silent hissing, hatred. Took me a while to learn that, a long while to learn that. And that's why I'm always basically by myself now. I'm always, like they say, solo dolo. Now, me and the great God, and being one with my grand body, you know, of the elders and those who are a part of this ministry that we demonstrating right now. You know what I mean? Divine ministry of love. You know, that's where I'm at with it. And I tell you, like I tell my own son now, because I told him it's only 3 things you can get out of this world, you know, when it comes to the streets: prison, death, and drug addiction. It ain't gonna be nothing else you can get out. You can't change it. You can't remix it. Everybody that came before me and those who come after me trying to go down that same line will fail, because the European already done perfected the science of the trap. You see what I'm saying? They perfected the science of the trap. And this has been the entrapment that has kept our people trapped, you know, for some time now. But BS plus BS equal BS, family. You can't get nothing else out of that but that. I told my seeds that at a very young age, you know, because I understand the raw reality of the world. And I also told them, just because you are fearless, just because you're not scared, don't mean no one will try to take you off the count or take you off the count. There are many men that, you know, have fallen victim to the gun. Many men that are under the dirt right now. The reason why the graveyard has been on the manifest, so to speak. Many men that passed form that wasn't afraid to go. So we got to get up outside of this egotistical thought pattern, because the harm that we can bring to each other, that can be done a dime a dozen. It take real courage to be a real man and let certain things blow off. You let it blow off with the European. You let it blow off when it comes to your people being oppressed with the foot of this beast on their neck. And you ain't got nothing to say. You ain't trigger happy. You ain't Yosemite Sam then. When it comes to standing in defense of your people. But just know, when you put that type of energy out there, that karma awaits. The same way you say I'm stepping on, somebody can step on you. In most cases, we'll step on you the same way. And that's not something I wish for my people. I'm just saying that we got to do better. We got to stop the hatred. We got to stop the slander. We got to stop the lewdness, the murder, and everything that harm, family. So what I want to do at this time, I'm going to close out, but I want to give you a drawing from some of the lessons we build with, you know, here in Moorish America. because this is my duty as Swift Angel. My duty as a Swift Angel is to make it rain. Not in the way that you think about making it rain, but my duty is to make it rain in the sense, family, that I'm bringing you the truth. And when I bring you this truth, I ain't looking forward to who finna get wet or nothing like that right there. That's not my duty. My duty is just to make it rain like angels do. And whoever get wet, they get wet. You know what I mean? You get wet with the truth, then all is well with you. This is a measure coming from our beloved brother, Akin Acton, our Grand National Chairman, in his adept lesson 417. And this is dealing with Ali passing the 5th adept degree, which is dealing with heroism. You can see all the characters that he put up here, that people are always trying to make a man a hero, somebody that they can put up there as being a scapegoat or so forth and so on. He refers to strength. The male images, prefixes, illusion of our subject, heroism. Hero, idol, symbol, champion, celebrity, star, leader, conqueror, favorite deity. Heroism, the act of valor, bravery, boldness, daring, fearlessness, courageousness. Masterminds in heroism defined. Listen to what our brother said. He said, masterminds are, this is the preamble. Masterminds are the retentions of gods while being controllers of human forms. They are right order over ignorance, thinking over boorish, wisdom over matter, and control over blind acceptance. Since the beginning of time, better known as the fall of man, there has forever been those whom have reversed, protected, and sustained the purpose of a man as a thinker. The collective of these consciousness of God's traveling in flesh has been preserved by the first humans, people of pigmentation, today's Africans, and then sustained by the sacred schools of prophets, e.g. Buddha, Confucius, Muhammad, and Ali. Masterminds of those who have a constant hollowed educational system sustained on earth, usually Egypt and Africa, ancient Kemet. All they do is live as gods and preserve the consecrated lessons of what life is truly meant to build, the temple of perfected man. Masterminds preserve spirit man's soulful right to be God. Without this sacred assurance of living gods, the fall of man will be without the inevitable rise. He went into also measures that deal with mastermind, but I want to go through here, where he touched on, because I ain't going to go through the whole document. I want to hit key points. Here he said, if I can get you to thinking, you will save yourself. That's a direct quote from Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Our people have to learn to be thinkers. Man means thinker. You see, thought is the love thought. Thought is energy. Thought has weight. It has atomic mass, Moors. In unconscious family, it has atomic mass. Your thoughts are powerful. So we have to be careful with what type of energy we put out there, because thought moves in cycles, and whatever you think and you put out there, it will come back to you. Heroism comes in many forms, characters, and mindsets. Like a newborn naturally seeks to grow in semblances of the parents of which it came, the soul of man instinctively seeks for the source of creation, its source of creation. Although neither youth can define this powerful sense and natural intuition to be greater, stronger, and independent, it is in the realization and a part of nature to grow and explore possibilities. In the innocence of a human society, this spontaneous growth will venture past the allured and baited traps of heroism. See, that's what our people falling victim to. Baited traps of heroism. I ain't gonna let you do me like that. You ain't finna talk to me no type of way. I'm a man. I'm gonna go to war. I'll take you off the count. If you with it, let's get with it. You feel me? That's the heroism. See, these debated traps. It say, It is in the nature of man to ponder upon what he would do when he becomes greater. Now it goes on, into other areas. Like I said, I don't want to go into everything that's being stated here. For those who are interested, I will send you the whole of this particular measure. If you hit me on Facebook, or if you hit me in the area of the YouTube platform, I get this to you. But the chairman went into many different areas here. I want to go to the main areas here and that are relevant. All of it is relevant. Those that are relevant, in a nutshell. This is the one area right here. Here's a measure where one masters getting caught up in these traps. It said, and Ali said, who is it that bind me or did bind me thus? Why did I, a mastermind, a thinker now, a student, an adept, a self-conqueror, why did I meekly sit to be bound down with chains? You see, why did I allow somebody to basically make me their slave by dictating the way that I should think? What can be used to guide, direct, and control the thought patterns of and beliefs of humanity? I tell you, none has the power to bind the human soul. Man's capacity to think, reason, will, and understand, right? Of what are the feathers and shackles, chains, restraints, and bonds, and yokes, and ties, and confinements made? What are these things made of? From cultural, holy poi, social, world order prospectus, right? All fetters and restraints are when sovereign powers of a government become exploited, cruel, and abusive to citizenry and defenseless humanity. In these modern days, there are thousands of global chains of heroism which are made from the links of various heroes and sheroes. But music is my hero. Baby, just give me some sounds. It can be gospel, jazz, rock and roll, blues, oldies, but goldies, or goodies, pardon self. And please don't leave out soul music and my hip hop. No, man, don't touch that FM 101 dial. BET or Soul Train, bring it back. Child, we about to blow the roof off this mighty fine. You don't feel that beat? Y'all must go, y'all must got a hole in y'all soul. You know what I mean? So, the chairman, he's very humorous with these measures. He said, sometime in history, every nation has suffered slavery because they no longer honored the creed and principles of their forefathers. During times of oppression and subjugation and domination expressed especially of the MBC in the West, Negro, Black, and Colored, in the thought pattern, various forms of sedations are used to pacify the hearts and minds of the sufferers. After all, nobody enjoys being a slave unless their mind is made to agree to servitude. The Willie Lynch theory alone has proven it is amazing to witness how music, games, and entertainments amongst slaves will become psychologically tranquilizing and acceptable forms of sedations, especially when this society anesthetizes pardon self, are generated by slaves themselves. Unbeknownst to the slaves, however, no matter how lovely to the ear, pleasant to the taste, or acceptable to the smell when the music is being created by slaves during the time of slavery, the fact remains it is still slave music. Or in the words of a Marcus Garveyite named Bob Marley, all various classes of 4 centuries of music made by the so-called NBC mentioned above, there is not one of these songs of freedom, no matter how widely accepted heroism, no matter what form it may derive, does not have the power to redeem, save, nor free. So, I mean, we can go on and on and on, family. But I just wanted to get that drawing, and hopefully somebody can get something out of that. you know, and I just say family, peace and love, you know, at this time, and gratitude.